What if I told you that Britain's most infamous prisoner, a man who spent decades in solitary stage riots, fought guards, and became a cult figure, also grew a beard that became as notorious as his name? This isn't the Hollywood tough guy Charles Bronson. This is Michael Peterson, the man who transformed into Charles Bronson and whose beard became the face of chaos itself. And today, on Beardtory, we put his infamous whiskers on trial. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Beardtory. I'm super excited about this one. It was a recommendation that came in via email through a name and an email I don't remember. I do apologize, but you know who you are. Thank you for this one. We're going to get into the history, the mystery, and the beard. And if you're new here, welcome. What we do is we take somebody throughout history. That's the Tory and Beardtory. We talk about them, their beard, and then at the end of it, I'm going to rank it on 5 categories and see where it stacks up and if it makes the top 20 of all of them. Will somebody get kicked out, or will he not make it? Let's jump right into it. Here we go. Michael Gordon Peterson was born in 1952 in Luton, England. His early life, well, pretty unremarkable. He worked odd jobs, got married, and even had a son. But beneath the surface, there was always a streak of volatility. And by the 70s, he had already dipped into crime. And in 1974, he was sentenced to 7 years in prison for armed robbery. He never left. That's not because his sentence was long, but because his behavior inside was legendary. Prison officers described him as the most violent prisoner in Britain. He attacked guards, brawled with inmates, staged rooftop protests, and took hostages. For real. One infamous incident saw him armed with nothing more than a broken glass and a fire extinguisher, holding prison staff at bay for hours. It was during these years that Michael Peterson became Charles Bronson. The name was given to him by a boxing promoter who thought the tough guy alias borrowed from the American action star suited him better. And with the name came the persona, the bare-knuckle brawler, the outlaw, the beast of Britain's prisons. And his beard, well, it grew right alongside the legend. Wild, wiry, untamed. A perfect match for the man whose life had become one long fight. Charles Bronson didn't grow his beard for vanity. He grew it as a weapon. Think about it. In a world where control is stripped away, uniforms, cells, routines, your appearance becomes your rebellion. His beard was a declaration, I am not broken. It framed his face like a lion's mane, amplifying his reputation. Guards and fellow inmates alike reported that Bronson's glare, paired with that thick mustache and beard, was enough to freeze a man in place. Even in court, with judges, journalists, they were always watching, and Bronson looked less like a prisoner and more like a man who chose his fate, defiantly wrapped in facial hair that said, "Come and try me." And let's not forget the media. The press loved to splash images of him, bald head, bulging muscles, wild eyes, and that beard. It made him instantly recognizable, even to people who had, well, never read about his crimes. The beard, it wasn't just hair. It was his brand. And when Tom Hardy stepped into the role for the 2008 film, well, Bronson, the transformation wasn't complete until he strapped on, well, the beard and the mustache. Hardy himself said the beard was central to embodying Bronson's larger-than-life persona. The facial hair made him look like a man who could terrify an entire cell block with a single stare. Over the years, Bronson's beard has seen as many transformations as the man himself. Sometimes trimmed back when he flirted with the idea of redemption, other times wild and bushy during his more violent years. In later decades, Bronson rebranded himself as an artist. He began drawing, writing, producing bizarre, striking works that even exhibited outside prison walls. His art often reflected his inner turmoil, but the beard, it always remained. Even as he softened his public persona, trying to show the world he was more than just violence, the beard tied him to his legend. It was the bridge between Bronson the monster and Bronson the misunderstood man. The beard was never clean or gentlemanly. It was chaotic, intimidating, and unapologetically, well, raw. And that's the paradox of Bronson's beard. It wasn't about elegance like Darwin or Tolstoy. It wasn't about wisdom like Socrates. It was about identity. The beard was the mask he could never take off. The outward expression of a man who refused to bow, no matter how many years the system tried to break him. Now, let's go ahead and put Britain's most notorious prisoner through the Beardtory scale. And for everybody wondering, we do fear factor, we do wisdom points, we do intimidation level, thickness and wildness, historical impact, and then we do the math and we total it up. So fear factor, well, yeah, that beard paired with his reputation is downright terrifying. It's not just hair, it's a warning sign. And as the beard grew, so did the fear. So for me, 9.1 out of 10. Wisdom points, well, not exactly the beard of philosophers, more about fists than philosophy. So if you're going with the fist philosophy. Anyways, one's an F, one's a PH. Sorry, our English language is tough. I guess I'm not sounding very wisdom-like either. So for me, not the smartest guy. The beard didn't scream, that dude's smart. No. 4.2 out of 10. Intimidation level, well, one of the most intimidating beards ever put behind bars. I mean, the things that he did, the actions with the beard, it was intimidating, and this is one of the highest intimidation levels that I think I've given out. 9.5 out of 10. Thickness and wildness, it was dense, it was unrefined, and always on the edge of feral. All right, and it wasn't always thick and wild. Sometimes he would trim it back. Sometimes, he would like to look a little bit better. So it wasn't always. So the rating for me came down a little bit because it wasn't just thick. It wasn't always just wild. Sometimes it was thick, and when it was thick and wild, it was thick and wild. So for me, 8.7 out of 10. And historical impact, not a beard that shaped nations, but it did shape a mythos that continues to capture headlines and inspire films. I mean, when you have a beard, when you have a persona that, is able to get Tom Hardy to grow a beard and play you in your own movie, it's got a little bit of a historical impact. 7.9 out of 10. And if my math is math, then 39.4 out of 50. And this is where Charles Bronson's beard ranks amongst all of the beards that we have done here on Beardtory. What do you think? Did it land in the perfect spot? I think so. But you'll have to let me know in the comments if I messed this one up. So Charles Bronson's beard, it's not one of the ones that are high on the wisdom or the grace. It is the beard of chaos, rebellion, and defiance. In the wild world of Beardtory, that makes it unforgettable. That's all we have. If you have a recommendation, let us know in the comments right now, and we'll do it next week. And if you don't, I'll come up with one myself. But either way, can't thank you enough for taking some time out of your busy day to check out Beardtory. Guess what? We'll do it again next week. Take care, everybody.